who's got a serious momentum for the Green Bay Packers, and that's our boy Tucker Kraft. I'm so excited. So excited this dude's a Green Bay Packer. So what I did was went through and did a quick little breakdown, and let's take a look at some of the numbers. And I want you guys to tell me in the chat, where do y'all think he ranks? Before we dive into the numbers, everybody rattle off where you think he ranks. Tucker Kraft amongst tight ends, would you say he's top 3, top 5, top 10, maybe even outside of the top 10? Maybe that's your opinion. Let us know in the chat. Where do you think Tucker Kraft ranks right now? And let's dive into it here. So I said Tucker Kraft becoming the next great Packers tight end. So what I did was just went random fire or rapid fire statistics that I think are important, okay, in terms of the tight end position. And we'll get to them here. Let's see what everybody says. Solder says 6. All right. Dead Fish says top 10. Holmes says 5. Cheese Mode Activated says top 3. Tony Holman says currently top 5. Ron Samville says top 7. Jagger says top 7. Coach Lynn says top 10. Stacy Mitchell top 5. Clint, the armchair quarterback, says 4. All right. Respect Oranges says 10, but can be 3 soon. I can see that. And Ed Madden says definitely top 10 and moving up. So let's get to it. In yards on fewer targets here, okay, this is what I want to point out. He was 7th in yards, okay, amongst tight ends on far fewer targets. And here's what I mean by that. Look at the yardage, Tim. Brock Bowers led the league at 1,194 yards. Trey McBride had 1,146. George Kittle, 1,106. Jonnu Smith, 884. Travis Kelce, 823. Sam Laporta, 726. And then our very own Tucker Kraft coming in at 707 receiving yards. Now, here's what's important to understand. Look at the target share. Brock Bowers, who led the way, had 153 targets. Trey McBride, who was second, had 147. George Kittle had 94. Jonnu Smith, 111. Travis Kelce, 133. Sam Laporta, 83. And the lowest of these within the top 7 here is Tucker Kraft with only 70 targets, finishing with 707 yards. Put that into perspective, guys. If he were to keep up that same rate of yardage per reception, and he got the same amount of targets that Brock Bowers got, you can double his numbers. That means Tucker Kraft was on pace to have 1,400 receiving yards as a tight end, as where Brock Bowers finished with 1,194, leading the National Football League. That's insane. Now, that's an insane amount of targets too, Tim, when you think about it, right? I mean, you're talking about targeting somebody 153 times at the tight end position. Let's say he just got, times one. Let's say if he got to 100 targets, he's cracking 1,000 yards receiving. It's happening. So the problem isn't Tucker Kraft's play as a receiver. The problem is he ain't getting enough targets. And I don't see it as a problem because I think that's what makes Matt LaFleur's offense so effective is you're moving the ball around. You're spreading the ball around. Yeah. What do you think about that there, man?
I think there's truth to what you're saying, and we're going to see a lot more of it this year because we've got even more targets in the building now between the receiving room, the running back room, and the tight end room. So, it's going to take every ounce of ability, that Coach LaFleur has to really, emphasize that, especially to Jordan as a quarterback. You have your favorites. I don't care what anyone says. Every quarterback's got his favorite targets, but you got to learn to trust your reads and trust the system. And, get to that next level and hit the open guy, hit it in time and spread that ball around. And I think maybe, just maybe, you could see Tuck Norris kind of becoming that security blanket for Jordan Love this year in an offense that's going to feature at least 2 or 3 new weapons that he's never played football with. So you could look at guys like, Tucker Kraft to kind of be a security blanket for Jordan in a pinch. So hopefully he does get more targets. Only tight end on this list to start 17 games and play 17 games last year. Also worth mentioning.
Yeah. Coach Lynn says we have to get Kraft the ball this year. I agree, man. If there's a player on the team that you want to see get more targets, it's him for me. And again, that comes down to Jordan getting to the check down sooner. You got to get to the check down on time, on schedule. I think he missed a lot of opportunities underneath with Tucker because Jordan was thinking home run, right? And when he hits those home runs, we love it. But obviously when you see that ball fall incomplete on a 3rd and 7 and the ball's thrown 25 yards down the field, Tucker Kraft's running butt naked through the trailer park. That's a tough look. There's no doubt about it. We got Cheese Mode activated. Said, "What up, fellas? Love the content. Been watching a few years now. I appreciate you, Cheese Mode. Thanks for being a part of it, buddy. Glad you made it in here for the live show. Always welcome here, man. Hit that like for us if you don't care, and tell a friend." So 7th in yards is where Tucker Kraft finished. Now let's go to touchdowns. Tim, he finished 4th in receiving touchdowns last year. Here's the list: Mark Andrews 11, Jonnu Smith 8, George Kittle 8, Zach Ertz, Freiermuth, Sam Laporta, and Tucker Kraft all tied for 4th with 7 touchdown catches. And again, look at the targets, guys. 83 targets for Laporta. That's 13 more than Kraft. Freiermuth had 8 more targets than Kraft. Zach Ertz, 91. So he had 21 more targets than Kraft. 24 more targets for George Kittle. A whole bunch more for Jonnu Smith, who had 111 targets. The one that was the true red zone threat here, in my opinion, Mark Andrews, only 69 targets and had 11 touchdowns. That's a pretty good touchdown ratio there. Now, I'm a fan that, like, I don't look at touchdowns and think of it as the ultimate stat. I think that can be misleading sometimes, right? Like, you see a player that's finishes the season with 8 touchdowns and they've only got 300 yards receiving. It's like, okay, the object of the game is to score points, but it sounds like they were just kind of mopping up inside the red zone as opposed to helping your team move the ball down the field more consistently. Now, with that being said, Tucker Kraft, I can honestly say only one of his 7 did he not fight his ass off for. And when we do the talk here in a minute, Tim, we're going to break down his touchdowns. You'll see what I'm talking about. There's literally one RPR where he's just schemed wide open, a little toss and little toss and catch for a touchdown. But in terms of touchdowns, though, man, far fewer targets. Tucker Kraft definitely becoming a red zone threat for Jordan.
Yeah, and that's where we'd like to see him used a little bit more, right? I mean, it's kind of been really the Jaden Reed show or the Romeo Dobbs show down there in the red zone as far as, passing targets. So I think, having your big boy tight end playing physical ball in the red zone, that's going to help. So I hope they do make that an emphasis to utilize him more. Yeah.
Brent in Indiana with the super chat said, "Thanks for the content." Brent, thank you for the support, man. I know you've been here a very long time. Thank you for the kind words and thank you for the donation there, buddy. We appreciate you. Let's move it along now to yards per reception. I really like this stat. This is what do you do with your opportunities given, right? George Kittle led the way at 14.2 yards per catch, Tim. Tucker Kraft was behind him, only 1/10 of a yard per catch at 14.1 was his number. So Tucker Kraft finishes the season 2nd in yards per reception. Now, a lot of that has to do with Yak, but nonetheless, that's maximizing your opportunities right there, man. He had 50 catches on 70 targets for 707 yards, 7 touchdowns, and averaged 14.1 yards every time he caught the ball. So I need to try to pull the number on yards per target sometime. That would be a good one to see just how effective Tucker was there in that regard. But here you're seeing, man, and I forgot to write the last one down. I was going to try to chart these. So we're 7th, 4th, and now we're 2nd in yards per reception. That, to me, that's a little more meaningful, I think, than the touchdown number, to be honest with you.
I would agree. And that's, yards per reception. So that's kind of totaling up, the distance of the throw / the yak yards, right? It's like a combination.
The yards you gained. Yeah, the yards you gained on the catch. Yeah,
and we know the yak is a big part of, Tuck Norris's game, man. He's he's a master at catching that ball in the smallest of window and just trucking somebody or spinning out and getting upfield. It's fun to watch. So it'll be interesting to see those numbers come up this year. I think as impressive as these numbers looked here in this category last year, I think we're going to see them do even better this year. I really do.
Ed Madden in the chat says, "Keep moving the sticks and the touches will be there." No doubt about it, man. Cheese Mode says in the chat, makes the most of his opportunities. He really does, for sure. Ron Sample, that's the key, Ed. More consistent offense leads to more touches. Coach Lynn says balling. So everybody agrees this is a pretty significant number here, man. It really is. So
I think so.
Yeah. Moving along, let's go to expected points added, kind of a little bit advanced metric, if you will, right? So this is receiving EPA, okay? So receiving EPA, George Kittle led the way at a plus 61.8. Jonnu Smith is a plus 52.4. Mark Andrews a plus 47.4. Trey McBride plus 45.7. And then our very own Tucker Kraft at a plus 32.6 is what he finished with in terms of receiving EPA, fifth best in the league. So once again, you got a stat here saying he's top 5.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
I think if you average that all out, right, I think certainly everyone who said top 10, that was absolutely right. I mean, that's not even up for debate at this point. And, like you said, he's knocking on the door as a top 5 tight end, depending on how you're breaking things down. So this year right here could be the one for him, man.
Yeah. Moving along, let's go to Yak, the Yak monster. Kraft Yak and cheese, as we like to say here, right? 5th in yards after catch. So yards after catch, total Yak yards. Brock Bowers, 611. George Kittle, 551. Jonnu Smith, 544. Trey McBride, 540. Tucker Kraft, 481 yards after the catch. That's total yards after the catch, right? That's not on an average basis, obviously. So when you look at the targets, again, go back to target share. He finished 5th in Yak yards. Look at the guys ahead of him. He had 70 targets. Trey McBride ahead of him had 147 targets. Jonnu Smith had 111. George Kittle, 94. Brock Bowers, 153. If he got the same amount of targets as Brock Bowers, what would his Yak yardage be? He would definitely be first. There's no two ways about it. I mean, honestly, I feel comfortable saying he probably would have cracked 800 to 900 Yak yards if he got the same amount of targets as a Brock Bowers.
I agree. He has the lowest amount of targets of any relevant receiver or tight end on this list. Right. I mean, so, 70 targets. I mean, who's second on this list? Disley at 64. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's crazy. So to think of the production you're getting with the, that amount of targets is, if we step that number up even 10 to 15% more this year, he's probably going to really jump off the stat sheet when it comes to the Yak yards.
Yep, definitely. All right, moving along. Let's go to Yak over expected. Okay. Really like this number because it's kind of, it's going above and beyond for the Yak yards essentially, right? Tim, he finished 2nd in the league only behind George Kittle. George Kittle at a plus 164 Yak over expected. Tucker Kraft plus 159 with the next to closest player being Brock Bowers at a plus 121. So that kind of filters out a little bit more of the noise and shows you what they did with the opportunity there in terms of the specific situation they were placed in. Him finishing 2nd in another important statistical category here.
So true.
Yeah.
I love this stuff, man. Oh, look, A-Fam's here. And he's talking about a Packer. Kraft is legit. Look at that. What's up, A-Fam? I saw your mom in here earlier. I don't know if she's still hanging around.
Said something about going to the Waffle House, I believe. I didn't want to bring it up on the screen. We were rolling along here, but Tony Holman says he deserves a second contract. If you're talking about Tucker, I agree. Now, luckily, we ain't got to worry about it for a couple more years, right?
So in a couple of years, you know what we're going to be saying, Clayton.
Pay that man his money.
That is correct, sir. That is correct. So good to see you, fam. Glad you swung through, man. 2nd in average separation yards per target. Now, you can look at this a number of different ways. I look at it really 2 different ways, Tim. Separation yardage is important. It's how consistent are you getting open, but also there can be some scheme involved. And with Tucker, you did see this. You seen where there was no one near him because they ran, maybe a delayed release or what we call a leak play, right? Stuff like that. However, you got to be in the right place at the right time to maximize on these opportunities. He finished 2nd in average separation at 4.4 yards. The only person better than him was Jatavian Sanders, who only had 43 targets. So Tucker Kraft coming in with 70 targets, and his average separation was 4.4. Noah Gray, listen to these names here, guys. Noah Gray only had 49 targets. Then you had Tyler Conklin, right? I believe it is. Isaiah Likely, obviously we know who he is. Noah Fant, who just got released, if I remember correctly, today. So it's pretty cool, man. You don't see any big names anywhere near Tucker Kraft. It's almost like the guys with far fewer targets and less play time are kind of filtered toward the top.
Yeah.
And then you look at Tucker Kraft, and he's again 70 targets, the most of anybody here toward the top of the list, other than Tyler Conklin. And you got to get all the way down to around the really
9.
the 12
Cole
mark.
Kmet maybe, yeah.
Yeah, you're right. Cole Kmet yet at 9, and then you got George Kittle at 12, Mark Andrews at 13, Dalton Kincaid at 14, Sam Laporte at 15, Brock Bowers at 16.
And those are all top tier names when we're talking about tight ends that you're going to put in that top 10 conversation, right?
Yeah. So
And
in terms of
the list,
yeah. So in terms of separation, he's second, and I think that does have a little bit to do with route running along with scheme for sure. So, all right, now let's get to the negative aspect here. We just ran through all those numbers, right? 7th, 4th, 2nd, 5th, 2nd. You go to PFF, they said he's the 23rd best tight end in terms of grades with a 67.8. How the heck this makes sense is beyond me. However, you look at the run block grade they gave him was a 54.3. If you were to remove that run block grade, his grade would be significantly higher. If that run block grade was in the 60s, around 65, his overall PFF grade is going to skyrocket. It is. So just keep that in mind. Now, again, what does that mean? And I put run blocking breakdown, okay? Because again, they don't give you any timestamps. They don't give you any tape. They don't give you, hey, watch this play. This was a bad blocking play for Tucker Kraft. That stuff kind of tough for me to buy into what they're selling here, right? Now, one thing that you can key in on, though, Tim, is the penalties. And when you look at the penalties going week by week, right, he had 2 in week 1, 1 in week 4, 1 in week 13, and that's it. The entire year. And in terms of run blocking snaps here, 441 run blocking opportunities for Tucker Kraft. He only had 4 penalties. That basically, guys, you're going to get a penalty out of Tucker Kraft every 100 blocking reps. That's pretty darn good in my opinion, especially for a second-year tight end who's so effective in catching the football. But what do you think about that, man, in terms of his run blocking grade, bringing down his overall PFF? Because every other statistic suggests he's way higher than 23rd. You know what I'm saying?
I agree. So, I mean, if you're using logic and reasoning here, yeah, you look at that run block grade, that's the only kind of, subpar grading that they're giving him. It's probably dragging his overall down. But then again, you never know with PFF, right? Why we can't put too much logic in? They're not willing to back any of it up with tape. So it's tough to call. But bottom line, we know Tucker can block. We've seen it. We know how effective he can be in both the pass and the run game as a blocker. However, I don't see us needing him to do as much blocking as maybe we've asked him to do in the past. I think he's going to be more of a featured target offensively. And I think if he stays north of that, 54, 55 run blocking grade, I'm okay with that. It's not plummeting his rating for me. And for all we know, he might get better. Let's see how he grades out this year. He might be in the 60s.
Yep. Ed Madden says, I want to see film on his run blocking. I don't believe in PFF. I'm with you. Yeah, Cheese Mode Activated says, we've seen Tuck dog walk guys up the field run blocking. It's so true. I remember us calling out pancakes all year for sure. So, again, I don't think he's like Gronk level run blocking. Don't take this the wrong way. But to pretend like he's a 54.3 seems weird. But overall, though, PFF grade is rookie year 60.4. Again, what do we tell you guys to look out for with rookies? When a player grades out in the 60s as a rookie, according to PFF, typically it's a sign you got somebody there, right? You can grade out in the 50s and take a bigger step the second or third year and still make it. That can happen, don't get me wrong. But someone hits that 60 mark, look out. Probably got you a good football player. In 2024, he increased to a 67.8. Tim, I wouldn't be surprised if he grades out in the 70s this year, man. So
I agree.
And again, only 4 penalties. So when you look at the run blocking grade in 2023, they gave him a 48.7. And then in 2024, he jumped to a 54.3. So even though that 54.3 in 2024 is bringing his overall grade down, or overall, PFF grade down, you've seen a pretty significant improvement there in his grade from that 48.7 to a 54.3. So
I agree.
Basically what it comes down to, Tim, is in some of the more important statistics that we went through here, he finished 7th, 4th, 2nd, 5th, 2nd, and then the PFF grade was 27. So if we were to take these numbers, don't that feel like a top 5 tight end just based off of those specific statistics?
Absolutely. Especially, we're talking about 2 years of NFL football here, right? We're going into junior year here, right? It's time for year 3. And I don't care what anyone says. He's progressing along pretty fine as far as I'm concerned. I don't know what you think there, Clay, but this is what you want. Like you said, you're grading, in that, mid 60s range, relatively early in your career, and you're only going to get better as you progress. So I think it's fair. I would put Tuck probably right around that top 5 mark right now. Personally, that's just the homer in me, I guess. But like I said, we're in for a hell of a ride this year, guys. We talk about this wide receiver room. I'm going to be looking at that tight end room, and I fully expect Tuck to just keep doing what he's doing and continuing to get better. And I really think Musgrave's going to step up this year as well. So it's going to be a fun show to watch.
Yeah. So if you look at the key statistics, right, and you take the where he ranked on those key statistics and divide it by the number of stats, his average place comes out to 3.6. Okay. Now, if you include the PFF grade where they said he was it the 27th? I hope I got that right. I think that's right. 23rd. Oh, boy, I sold him short there, Tim. So he's actually going to increase a little bit. Sorry, Coach Half. Man, get off my back. So let's see here. Let me get this real quick. 22 plus 24. Is that where he was ranked? Just trying to get you guys a roundabout number with the PFF grade. And then that's by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So Tucker comes out to 6.5, including the bad PFF grade. I say bad, but the PFF grade is bringing him down. So somewhere between 3 and 6 where he's ranked, that number's probably around 5, right?
5, yeah.
So what you're seeing is a top 5 tight end in the most important statistical categories. Now he's got to go out and do it again, right? Who's to say he doesn't take a huge step back this year, right? I don't see it happening because the man works his ass off. He just seems like he's a legit. He loves the game. He loves the team. He's just a football player at heart. I expect him to get better year in and year out. Just got to stay healthy and just continue to take those small incremental steps forward, becoming a better football player. So, anything else on the breakdown there, Tim, in terms of Tucker Kraft's numbers?
No, that was great. I'm glad you put that together. Gives us some
Look,
clarity heading into the season for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And again, this is the time to do, as you guys have noticed, we're going rapid fire with content, trying to get everybody ready for the season here because it's right around the corner and we had so much we still wanted to get to, which I think is awesome because I hear people taking, they're not doing pods right now. There's nothing to talk about. Like we ran out of time. Like you know what I mean, Tim? We didn't run out of content at all. So
that's right.